This is class 1 of my arithmetic course, the most important class of the course. The reason it's the most important class is because we're going to give an introduction and we're going to talk about the course content and also how to stay organized throughout the course. The primary objective of this math course, as well as any other math course, is to learn fluency in the topics covered. And when I say fluency, I mean you need to learn how to read and write the concepts covered in the course. Math is a language. And if you know somebody who's ever taken a foreign language class, they'll tell you that learning a foreign language or taking any foreign language class is pretty challenging. But the language of math and taking math courses is much more difficult than taking any other foreign language course, because when you take a foreign language course, you're not really required to learn fluency in the language. You learn some nouns, you learn how to conjugate verbs and various things, but you're not required to learn how to read and write and speak the language fluently. When it comes to the topics covered in any given math course, you are required to learn to know fluency as far as how to read and write and speak the topics covered in that particular math course. So for that reason, math is much more difficult than most courses in school. And students or parents that don't have a lot of experience with math may be surprised to find out how much effort is required to pass any given math course. Now, I'm not telling you that to discourage you or to scare you. I'm just telling you that if you take this course, you need to give it all your effort or no effort. But math courses in general they require a lot of effort, and that's my explanation for why they require effort. You have to know fluency in the mathematics. Now, as far as the pace of the course, a normal pace is 2 classes per week and 2 homework assignments per week. Each class has a homework assignment. Now, some people might say, well, that doesn't sound like a lot. That's only 2 classes per week. But each class is around an hour and 40 minutes. Some classes are an hour, some are 2 hours. Now, some parents will say, well, that's a deal breaker for me because my student can't do that. Well, your student can do that. As long as your child knows that it's only 2 classes per week, he or she is going to be able to make it through, because 2 classes per week, like I mentioned, it's not that intimidating for students. Also, when it comes to that hour and 40 minutes, 95% of that time is just going to be the student doing problems. So it's not going to be listening to me lecture. Also, when your student realizes that he or she can control the pace of the course, the student is going to be a lot more confident when it comes to doing the material. For example, students can move at a faster pace and do 3 to 4 classes per week, and they can get the course done much faster. If you do 2 classes per week and 2 homework assignments per week, it takes 4 to 5 months to finish the course. But if you do 3 or 4 classes and 3 or 4 homework assignments per week, you can get the course done in 2 to 3 months. But just be aware that the number one thing that is going to prevent you from going forward is the homework. You can watch all 39 classes in probably 2 or 3 weeks, but that's not going to prove that you know or that you learned anything. The homework is going to prove that you actually learned something. So the homework is going to be the limiting factor in your speed through any math course. Now, this document here is probably the most important document that you'll see in the academic world. I'm not going to go through all the specifics of what this document talks about, but this just shows you the math sequence. And you're starting off here at the beginning of the journey, arithmetic. And the math sequence in the regular school system takes about 15 years, and it's got about a 99% dropout rate in the school system. But the good news is that it doesn't actually take 15 years to finish the sequence. It only takes about 3 years. And as long as you do the homework and study for the tests and take the tests, then it'll be a 0% dropout rate. So in school, it'll take about 15 years if you can't count kindergarten. If you go to a community college or a junior college and use that system, it'll take about 5 years. And if you do my school, it'll take you about 3 years to finish the math sequence. And I could launch into a huge explanation of why it's important to finish math more quickly, but all I'm going to say at this, I don't want to turn it into a 3-hour lecture here, but all I'm going to say is that math, if you want to excel in the academic world, math is the most important thing for you to do early and get done at a young age, because it's going to provide so many more options for you and make your academic experience much easier. So let me give you just one example of why math is so important. If you want to take a general biology course, and this is just one example, there are hundreds of examples of this, but if you want to take one general biology course in school that's designed for engineers and scientists, they will not allow you to take that course, at least at the school that I graduated from. This is it's the same way with most schools. And the reason they won't allow you to take that course is because you have to first take the first semester of organic chemistry. And the problem is they won't allow you to take that course, the first semester of organic chemistry, unless you first take the first semester of general chemistry. And they won't allow you to take the first semester of general chemistry unless you first take intermediate algebra, or also called Algebra 2. And you can't take Algebra 2 until you first take geometry. And you can't take geometry unless you first take the beginning algebra, Algebra 1. And you can't take Algebra 1 unless you first take pre-algebra. And you can't take pre-algebra unless you first take arithmetic. And there are hundreds and hundreds of examples of this in the school system. If you were to draw a tree describing this situation, math would be the trunk of the tree. And if there's 3 other primary branches, one would be physics, and the other would be biology, and the other would be chemistry, and those branches lead off to, astronomy and geology and chemistry and biology and engineering and all the type of courses. So math is the most important thing to cover because it's the gateway to all these other things. And your grade level is dependent on what you know in math and English. People say that your grade level is dependent on your age. That is incorrect. I just want you to see a document here. See, if you look at this link here, it'll take you to the following document. This is the final report of the National Mathematics Advisory Panel. It's commissioned by the Secretary of Education in 2008. It's 10 years old, but all the principles still apply. If you go to page 31, actually I think it should be 30. I want to read you this quote. Teachers and developers of instructional materials sometimes assume that students need to be a certain age to learn certain mathematical ideas. However, a major finding documented in a National Research Council synthesis of studies about science learning and reaffirmed in the review of learning studies in mathematics conducted by the Task Group on Learning Processes is, quote, and this is the important part, what is developmentally appropriate is not a simple function of age or grade, but rather is largely contingent on prior opportunities to learn, end quote. And by the way, what they're saying is that your grade level is not determined by your age. Your grade level is determined by what you know. And they go on to say, claims based on Piaget's highly influential theory and related theories of developmental appropriateness that children of particular ages cannot learn certain content because they are too young, not in the appropriate stage, or not ready have consistently been shown to be wrong. Nor are claims justified that children cannot learn particular ideas because their brains are insufficiently developed, even if they possess the prerequisite knowledge for learning the ideas. So don't listen to people who tell you that you cannot excel in school or you can't move beyond what the school system is doing, because the school system is incredibly unproductive and incredibly inefficient. According to my calculations, it doesn't matter how good of a student you are, you're going to waste a minimum of 10 years rotting in classrooms, accomplishing pretty much nothing. So if you believe that your grade level is determined by your age, that condemns you to rot in classrooms and perform at such a low productivity level. So I could sit here for the next 3 hours quoting from documents, and I don't even care about the documents. I'm just I'm just telling you what my experience is, and you don't have to take 15 years. These are the different programs, and in my school is you're going to finish the math sequence in 3 years, and that's what's best for you. I'm doing that because that's what's best for you. So anyway, without going off into a huge tangent about that, let's now talk about how to conduct yourself in the course. There's only 3 things that you have to do in this course: watch the classes, do the homework, and study for the tests. That's it. It's very simple. But as I mentioned above, the homework is most of the work. The homework is 75% of the work that you're going to do in this course. Now, a lot of students will say, well, I'd actually prefer to just not do the homework. Well, if you don't do the homework, then you're not doing 75% of the work in the course. So that pretty much guts the entire course. So you have to do the homework. There's no choice. I want you to understand that no one in the history of mankind has ever passed a math course without doing the homework. It's not possible. You cannot learn fluency in the math unless you do the homework. You're probably thinking, well, I can figure out a way to do it. You can't, and you won't. It's impossible. That's like saying I'm going to learn fluency in a language without speaking the language. It's not going to happen. You have to do the homework. So there's no way around it. Also, I just want to head something off here. I had one student actually criticize me for providing the answers for the homework. All the answers for your homework will be provided. And some students will say, well, isn't that kind of cheating? Well, that just ensures that you do the homework properly. I'm going to require that you do the homework properly. If you write a bunch of junk on the paper that doesn't make any sense, you're just wasting your time and you're wasting my time. So you have to do the homework properly, which means you have to check your answers. And if the answer is wrong, guess what? You're going to go back and figure out how to do it correctly. Now, a lot of students will say, well, I can just write the answer. I can just cheat. Well, no, you cannot cheat because you have to show the work that you did to get there. And that guarantees that you cannot cheat. Well, it doesn't guarantee that you can't cheat, but it would be pretty hard to cheat. So simply writing the answers provides nothing. Now, as I mentioned above, 95% of my classes will be practice problems. I'm going to do problems, and then I'm going to tell you to pause the video, and I'm going to give you problems, and then you're going to have to attempt problems on your own. So 50% of the problems that we do in the classes are going to be you actually attempting the problem. And I want you to understand, when I tell you to attempt a problem and do it yourself and pause the video, that means I want you to actually do it yourself and pause the video. You're going to be tempted to just wait and watch me do it. I need you to attempt the problems, and it's going. If you do the problems with me, then it's going to be much easier for you to do the homework when you're doing the work on your own. Now, I mentioned 95% of the course is me doing practice problems and you doing practice problems. But there is 5% where I'm going to be lecturing. Now, students hate lecturing. Experience has taught me that students just want to know what do you want me to do? Tell me what to do and I'll do it and I'll get it done. They don't want to hear lecturing. So if I were to change one thing about this course, if I were to improve something, it would be I would lecture less. Even though I only lecture for about 5% of the course, I would lecture a lot less because I know how students hate that. And another thing is I would do problems faster and just the way that I move through the classes, I would try to go a lot faster because I don't want to bore students. But if you do feel that, and I'm gonna try to improve that in my next course, pre-algebra. But if you do feel that you're getting bored and that I'm talking too much or I'm going too slow, just be aware that you can use the right and left arrow keys to jump forward and reverse 5 seconds, and you can use the L and J keys to move forward and reverse in 10 second intervals. So don't complain if I'm talking too much, just jump forward, fast forward. The most important thing in the course is that you that you watch me do the problems and that you get the problems done on your that I give you for you to do on your own. So you don't have to listen to me talk if you don't want to listen to me talk. I think that what I'm saying is important, but in reality, it's really the problems that are most important. Fluency in the math is the most important thing. When you do the homework, you can use your computer screen to see what the homework is. You can just push pause, or you can take a screenshot and print out the screenshot, or crop the screenshot, print it out, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that now. So you would push, you can, if you have a PC, there's a lot of different ways to do it. So you have to look online for how to do it on your computer. But with my computer, I push the Windows button and I push part screen, and it takes a screenshot. I just took a screenshot there. And if it's a Mac, you push Command plus and Shift and then the number 3. But again, it's slightly different depending on what software you have. So then I'm going to go to my files where my screenshots are, and I'm going to find what I just took a picture of, and I think that's down here. And then I'm going to go to Edit and Create up at the top. And again, this is, you're probably going to have different software, so you got to figure out how to do this yourself. And I'm going to push Crop at the upper right, and I'm going to crop it. Let's say I just want the text, and that's it. And I don't want this purple stuff because that would use up my color ink. Your parents are probably going to be angry at you if you use up all your color ink, so try not to put too much color on there. So then push Done and push Save a Copy at the bottom right, and it saves a copy. And then I can just go to Print, to the Print button, and it prints it out. And it might be difficult to figure out exactly how to print the whatever you're trying to print, but as soon as you figure it out, you can then use that method for the rest of this course and all the other courses that I'm teaching. As far as where you're going to keep your homework, you'll keep the homework in a 3-ring binder or on a digital device. So I'm going to discuss that a little later on here. All right, so now let's go to the course content. Now this is information that's is going to be most interesting to parents. If you're a child looking at this, a student, then you don't really need to look at this unless you're interested in what the content's going to be. You're going to find out. But if you're a parent and you want to know how does this course compare to other courses, this is the course content. And I'm going to say that it's going to cover K-5 mathematics. There's a lot of content that covers 6th grade and 7th grade. But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to say K-5 mathematics. And notice that memorizing multiplication facts is in red. If I were to predict there's one thing that's going to slow students down and potentially halt the student completely, it's probably going to be memorizing multiplication facts. Students have to memorize 36 numbers. And most students are going to absolutely refuse to do that. They will not negotiate. They will not refuse to memorize those facts. And if they refuse to memorize those facts, they're not going to go ahead into the other material, and they're just going to stop, and they're never going to make any progress. So that is probably going to be the most difficult thing as far as getting a student to make progress. And if you're the student listening to this, that's it. If you don't memorize those facts, you're going to go nowhere in this course. Now, if you're a young student, you probably think that memorizing 36 numbers is going to be really difficult. It's really not. Memorizing things is not that difficult. It just takes a little effort. But once you put it in your long-term memory, you're going to have those numbers down, and you're going to use them over and over and over and over again, and you're never going to forget them. So don't complain. Just memorize those facts, and don't let that stop you in this course. Notice that that's going to be class 4 or 5, I believe. So there's 39 classes. If you get stuck on class 4 or 5, then obviously you're going to go nowhere, and that's not going to be very pleasant, because this is the first course in the math sequence. Now, if you're a parent wondering how this course compares, I would look at a national standard, but I was kind of surprised to find that there is no national standard that I could find as far as the math content when it comes to K-5 mathematics. So apparently, when it comes to this subject, people follow the Constitution, which apparently says that this stuff is supposed to be left to the education is supposed to be left to the states. So you have to go to the state standards. There are state standards. Now, I just want to be clear that I'm not going to these state standards for my own benefit. I don't care what the government or anybody says about the curriculum. I don't trust anybody to design a quality curriculum. There's been so much incompetence and complacency and laziness and fear when it comes to doing this that I don't trust anybody else except myself when it comes to preparing kids for upper math courses. So I'm not going to the government for my sake. I'm just going to government to kind of give you an idea of how my course compares to some supposed standard. Now, there really are no standards in the K-12 schools. The teachers do whatever they feel like when they get out of bed. That's a fact. People will try to deny that, but that's the way it is. So there really are no standards. But if you want to try to find a standard, the state standards are one place that you can go. So I would use California because that's where I'm from for the state standards. But the problem is California, according to this ranking here, and we'll try to go to this ranking. There's a link here. If you go to that first link, takes you to this website, and I'm not really sure who designed this website, but they have a for 4th grade mathematics in 2017. These are the rankings. California is way at the bottom, so you're probably not going to be comfortable using California because it's like 6th or 7th from the bottom. So you would want to use Massachusetts, which is ranked number 1. Now, I don't think these rankings necessarily mean anything. I don't know where they come up with this stuff, but you're going to be more comfortable using Massachusetts when it comes to state standards. So let's go to the Massachusetts state standards, which you see the link there. And then you go to current curriculum frameworks, push on mathematics. And there you have the Massachusetts curriculum framework, which is the state standards. And you want to go to, we'll go to grade 5, content standards. You can press on that. It'll take you directly there. And what's interesting to me about this list is that there's only 3 pages. People act like the math curriculum is top secret information. And there's so much of it, and it's just so vast. But the reality is it's really a finite amount of material. Look, it's only 3 pages. 1, 2, 3. And this is not top secret information. It's not, math has been the same for the last, 50, 60 years, pretty much. I mean, there are differences, but very minor differences compared to the whole curriculum. So you need to get rid of your fear of directing your education. It's really not that difficult to figure out what you need to learn. If you're a homeschooler parent, you need to get rid of your fear also. This is not rocket science. So I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but I'm just going to tell you that my course covers pretty much everything here with very, very, very small, minor differences that are really nothing. And again, like I said, there are no standards. Some teachers will refuse to teach 50% of the material that they're supposed to teach, and they'll get away with it scot-free, and the parents will do nothing about it. And the school will do nothing about it. So I'm covering everything pretty much everything that's on that list, and anything that I don't cover. For example, there's a few things about geometry, like I don't cover angles and whatnot, but in my school, you're going to be moving so quickly that by the end of the year, starting from this course, at a year from now, you're already going to be taking a full-on geometry course. So you don't have to worry about specifics about geometry. So I teach the basics of perimeter, area of a rectangle, area of a triangle, area of a square, and a few other things. But I don't go into every single detail of geometry just because I'm going to teach you an entire geometry course later on. So it's just not necessary. All right. So that said, and again, I could spend hours talking about all this stuff, but I'm going to do that in a different course, or a different video. I don't want to bore you with all this right now. So now we're going to talk about staying organized. You can either use a 3-ring binder, and if you do it that way, it'll cost about $20 to $30, or you can use a digital notebook. So these are the two methods that you can use to stay organized and keep all your work. But a digital notebook will cost possibly thousands of dollars, all the software and equipment that you would need to buy, or as opposed to a 3-ring binder that will cost $20 to $30. So that's one difference. A digital notebook is more fun to use, and it's easier to organize your work. Whereas a 3-ring binder, you have to take pages in and out physically and whatnot. When it comes to archiving your work, because when you're done with this course, I want you to put your 3-ring binder or whatever your files, I want you to keep it for the rest of your life, because this is your absolute proof that you actually finished the course. So when it comes to archiving your work, your homework and your tests and whatnot, the 3-ring binder is a hard copy, so the only way that can be destroyed is if your house burns down or something like that. But a digital notebook, you would think that wouldn't be as permanent of a thing, but the benefit is that if you use the cloud, then you're going to have multiple copies, and if you have multiple devices, you'll have a copy here, a copy here, a copy here, and the cloud. So it actually, in some respects, is safer. But of course, there's always a situation where the cloud can malfunction. You can lose your data, and your stuff can get stolen. So there's positives and negatives to either one of these. But you can use either a digital notebook or a 3-ring binder. Now, if you choose to use a 3-ring binder, here are the 6 things, and this is only if you're going to use a 3-ring binder. You need to buy these 6 things. So take a screenshot of that, push the Windows button, hold down the Windows button, push Part Screen, or hold down the Command button and Shift and number 3 on if you're using a Mac. Or again, those might not work on your computer, but just search the internet for how the screenshot works. Take a screenshot of this, and you need to take this to the supermarket or to CVS or Staples or wherever and get this equipment. So I want a 1-inch 3-ring binder with diagonal rings, lined paper, college ruled, a Papermate yellow mechanical pencils, extra erasers, a portable 3-hole punch, and reinforcement stickers. Those are all the things that I require in this course. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is kind of insulting because you're telling me how to organize my work. If you're a parent, you might think this is kind of insulting too. I don't need you to tell me how to organize things. I can do that myself. But this is the best way to organize your work. Students typically will do it their own way, but this is the way that I want you to do it, and I want you to use this method from now until you're done with your entire education, because this is just the best way to do it. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about why this is the best way to do it, but let's go to a YouTube video to show you what I mean by the 3-ring binder. Here's the 3-ring binder. It's a 1/2 inch binder, but I want you to get a 1-inch binder, so just be aware of that. And you can see the three rings, and this is class 2, the first class we're going to do work, and then you're going to do class 3, and then class 4, and class 5, and this is how I want you to keep it ordered. The earliest work is going to be at the beginning, and the latest work at the end. Now, this is a document from class 1. Let's say that you screenshot this and you print it out. I'm not going to require you to print this out, but let's say that you do have to print something out. There's no holes, so you're going to have to use the 3-hole punch. And the 3-hole punch is one of the things I'm going to require you to buy. And then, because this is a document from the first class, you're going to put it at the very beginning. And then your homework from class 2 is going to be next. Homework from class 3 is going to be after that, and so on and so forth. This is how you organize your work. This is what I require. And there are many benefits to using a 3-ring binder. Number 1, your work is organized. Number 2, your work cannot fall out. And number 3, it's all going to be in the same place. Now, you're going to be tempted to put papers on the sleeve thing here on the left. Don't do that. Never do that, because the papers are going to fall out, they're going to get out of order, and you're going to lose them. Don't ever put a paper in that sleeve. So that's the binder that I'm going to require you to get. And also, these 3 hole punches are handy because you can put them in there. But notice this is a 1/2 inch binder, so it doesn't close all the way when you put that 3 hole punch in there. So that's one reason to get a 1 inch binder, so that it can close completely. So that's the 3-ring binder that I'm going to require you to get. And the reason that I want diagonal, notice it says up here diagonal rings. I want you to get diagonal rings as you see here. Notice how it goes off to a slant there. Or I should say slanted rings. What that does is it protects the paper. When you have circular rings, it kind of damages the paper. And also, if you have slanted rings, it allows you to put more paper in the binder. So again, I'm just teaching you the best of the best. You want the best equipment here, and you want to use that equipment from day one. Lined paper, Papermate pencils. These are what the Papermate pencils look like. And the reason that I want you to get these pencils, because you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why can't I just go out and buy any pencils I want? Well, there are reasons. If you buy these pencils, which are the wrong pencils to get, then if the eraser runs out and you try to put an eraser on the top, it interferes with the function of the pencil. So I want you to get these yellow Papermate pencils, because you make the lead come out by turning the bottom part as opposed to clicking the upper part. When you run out of eraser, I'm going to require you to buy these extra erasers now. And then here's what the 3 hole punches look like. You can get those at CVS or Staples or wherever you need to get those. But when you get a 3 hole punch, do not buy the ones with clear plastic, because they will break very easily. Now, again, a lot of students are going to say, well, I'm just going to order things the way I want to order them. I'm not going to listen to what you say, because I can order things. I can figure out how to be organized myself. So what a lot of students are going to do is they're going to use these spiral binders instead of the 3-ring binder. But the problem is, if you have to do a screenshot and print out a piece of paper, where do you put it? You want all your papers to be in order and in the same place, the binder. But if you put a paper in here, in the spiral binder, that's really impossible to do. You cannot put papers in the screenshots in the spiral binder. So what's going to happen is they're going to fall out and get lost. So don't buy a spiral binder, and don't use folders. For the same reason that I told you not to put papers in that sleeve in the 3-ring binder, don't buy folders, because your papers are just going to fall out. They're not going to be in order. They're going to get lost. So again, this is a requirement for this course. These are all things that I require you to do. And the purpose for the reinforcement stickers is, if one of your papers, the holes on your papers get ripped, you can put those stickers around those holes so that you can put the paper back into your binder in the proper order. So that's all the stuff that I require if you use a 3-ring binder. Now, if you use a digital notebook, here are some suggestions. The software program that I use is OneNote. And OneNote is one of the programs that you get in Microsoft Office. The 4 primary programs in Microsoft Office are PowerPoint, Excel, Word, and OneNote. Now, a lot of people don't know what OneNote is. It's simply a note-taking program. What you're seeing here, what you've been watching in this video, is OneNote. You can do a lot of different things. You can write text, as you can see here, or you can paste pictures. But the thing that you're going to be using OneNote for mostly in this class is a digital pen. You see this doodling I'm doing here? This is what you're going to use OneNote for if you use a digital notebook. So it's a note-taking program. So you're going to be using the digital pen to write your homework and do your tests and so on and so forth. So when it comes to the hardware, the 2 things that I use an Apple I use an iPad Pro with an Apple Pen. I use that when I'm on the go, and these are both very, very high quality devices. The Apple Pen is the best pencil, is the best digital pencil on the market, and it's just very fun. It's fun to use. You can get a 10.5 inch, which is what I have, or a much bigger 12.7 inch. But the problem is it's expensive. Same thing with a 2-in-1 laptop. I also use a 2-in-1 laptop, and that's a laptop where the screen flips over 360 degrees. There is a huge market for 2-in-1 laptops these days. There's a huge section of stores which just show you 2-in-1 laptops. And so they're very common, but you have to get one that is compatible with Windows Ink. Most of them are compatible with Windows Ink. What that means is that it's designed, the hardware and the software are designed to use a digital pen. And the pen that's often used is the bamboo pen. So that's some of the equipment that I would recommend. You don't need both of these. You only need one, but I have both of them. And you can also use this, you can back up your work with a smartphone. I want you to be aware that OneNote is available on all of these devices. So even Apple devices, you can use OneNote. So if you have a tablet, a 2-in-1 laptop, and a smartphone, and you sync all those with the cloud, then that's a lot of different copies of your work. And if you sync with the cloud, then you don't even have to have your computer. You can go to one of your friends or relatives' house, and if you can just use their computer, and even though you don't have your own computer, you can put in your password, and the cloud will send you that computer your notes, and you can actually do work without even having your own computer. And I'm not exactly sure if I don't think it saves your notes onto somebody else's computer, but I don't really know much about that. But anyway, the cloud is a very, very effective tool to back up your work and to do your work on the move. But if you're on vacation and you're in the car and you're bored, you can bring your tablet and you can actually do work on that tablet. And then once you get home or once you get to a Wi-Fi network, it'll automatically sync into the cloud to back up all of your changes and all of your work. So it's a pretty incredible. So that's what I would suggest if you want to use a digital notebook. So as far as OneNote goes, I just want to show you OneNote real quickly. This is what I meant when I said that it's easier to organize your work. One of the benefits of OneNote is look how easily you can organize things. You've got your notebooks all the way on the left. You've got your sections in the middle, and then your pages. And this enables students to really organize their work very easily. For example, if I want to take class number 3 and put it over here, I can change the order very easily. So, and it's a lot more fun to use digital devices rather than to use paper. But again, it's much more expensive, and you don't need to buy a digital notebook. So that's pretty much this class, the things that I wanted to tell you. And I could talk for hours and hours and hours about what you can do, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about all the specifics of everything that I know about the academic system here, because the course this class would end up being 20 hours long of me just going on and on. So the most important things for you to know is you need to do 2 classes per week and 2 homework assignments per week, and you must do all of the homework without exception. And you must show your work, and you must check your answers to make sure it's correct. And you have to stay organized. And that's pretty much it. If you don't get off on the right foot, and if you don't stay organized, like I said, it's going to double the amount of work that you're going to need to do to get through any course. If you take the course seriously, then you're going to organize your work. If you don't take it seriously, then you're just going to be tripping through this course, and you're going to end up right back to class number 1, and you're going to have to start the whole thing over again. If you're going to take a math course, take it seriously, give it 100%, or give it nothing. So that was class 1. In class 2, we're actually going to start working. So your homework for this class is if you're going to use a 3-ring binder, your homework is to buy all of these items. So if you didn't take a screenshot, go ahead and take a screenshot. And if you don't have any colored ink, then you can take a screenshot of that. And if you're going to use a digital notebook, your homework is to buy these items or one of these items, or any kind of 2-in-1 laptop that's compatible with Windows Ink, or any tablet that's compatible with a digital pen. You don't have to use these particular ones, and you don't have to use OneNote, but you need to get some sort of a program and get it working before you proceed with this course. So that's your homework for the class, and I'll look forward to seeing you in class number 2.